Willie D. Live.
Well, one
The
thing,
same way Biden, when Biden resigned, who became president? Kamala Harris. There was no open election. No, he was in the middle of his term. Kamala Harris became the leading candidate and the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party. If the president steps down, the VP becomes president. Gets a little deeper than that, though. So just today, Trump and them had arrested a judge. A judge was arrested for usurping ICE ability to arrest illegal immigrants. So they had the judge arrested for obstruction. So now we arresting judges? And now they took a young Muslim student, male and female, and arrested them on violations of their visa because of their immigration status, and come to find out they had done nothing wrong, but they spoke out against Israel and in support of the Palestinians ending that conflict. So because the sitting government of the nation that you're in with your immigration status can now arrest you on the street because you spoke words that they did not like. That's the new America. And now, to take it even further deeper, they're now putting out, in the name of immigration, U.S. citizens who were not a part of MS-13, not a part of any Latin American gang, no criminal history. They just got caught in the mix-up and deported them. And now Trump is saying, well, we don't have the power to bring them back. I'm not going to even try. So now you got a government expelling their own citizens unjustly. Trump just said 2 weeks ago, I like the idea of sending inmates who've been convicted of crimes and sent to prison because of the prison overcrowding, and we can save money, send them to be housed in third world countries that we can pay to take them. And so now what Trump is saying, instead of building more prisons in America, take our prisoners and ship them out to other countries. And it'll cost us half to pay them what it costs us to house these same prisoners inside of America. And they're going to do it in the name of the war on crime. And they're going to allow crime to be exacerbated in the inner cities of America. And what they're going to do is highlight these crimes so the very people within the black community and Latino community will say, help us, crime is killing us, it's overriding us, we don't feel safe. So now they'll arrest your children, arrest your young men, convict them of crimes, and then send them overseas because that's where the penal institutions are. And when you go overseas, you no longer have America or American constitutional protections. Oh, this thing is deep. Just 2 days ago, the Trump administration is supporting a movement and legislation to have more babies. Did you hear about that?
I just read about that yesterday. Let me back up. I didn't read about it. I saw a headline. So I didn't get deep into it.
They want to reward two-party households that have more babies. Because 7 out of 10 black households is a single female, no male around. So if you're a single female, they ain't got no rewards for you. But if you're married, they want to reward you. And the idea of this came out of Project 2025. So what they're doing is saying to white families and white women, we need you to have more babies, and we're going to financially reward you even up to the 6th child. Do you really think that Donald Trump is pushing legislative benefits for married couples to have more babies because he wants to see black women with more babies? You think you want to see more Latino women with more babies? No, this is about white women having babies. Because when you look at the birth rate in America, the black and brown birth rate has always been high, and the white female birth rate has been low. And men like Joe Rogan and men like Tucker Carlson and men like Bill O'Reilly have been talking about the genetic annihilation of white people in America, and they're afraid that America's becoming more brown, not white. And so you want to reward.
Joe said something about
Yeah,
that.
he talked about that.
I mean, he talked about it, but did he talk about it where he had fear of it?
He talked about it with one of the hosts on the show where they were talking about how America will no longer be white and how America would cave in on itself. This is heavy, brother. Look at the things I've laid down in front of you, man. All of this has been going on in less than a year from the Trump administration. Where we're headed is on a whole nother level. And while we finger popping, and while we twerking, and while we fantasizing about what rappers got beef and what rappers got conflict, and while we fighting to enjoy entertainment, they are working on a plan to truly take America back. And you can't take America back with a strong black presence. This is real, brother.
You mentioned the youngsters earlier. The youngsters have been betrayed by the media, by music, even by their parents, some of their parents, right? So how do we turn that around? How do we get these youngsters who you called soldiers earlier, how do we get them back in the saddle and savage their future? Because we can't just say this generation is cooked and think it's cool, and walk off and, ride off into the sunset. So how do we get these youngsters back?
We have to first be unafraid of properly informing them and enlightening them of who the real enemy is. And we have to inform them of the plan that's being plotted and put together to destroy them. We have to teach these young brothers and sisters to stop looking at each other as the enemy. To teach young black brothers an adequate and profound knowledge of themselves and help our young people fall in love with themselves, therefore they can fall in love with one another. When you have a people that are in love with one another, they will unite. If black people truly united, it ain't nothing on earth that could stop us. So they must keep us divided. They must keep us one fighting another. Do you know that if Cochise, Sitting Bull, and Geronimo had united, we wouldn't be talking about America like we're talking about it today? But they had to have one tribe fighting another. They had to make sure that the Seminoles were fighting the Chiricahua, and the Chiricahua were fighting the Apache, and the Apache fighting the Arapaho, and the Arapaho fighting the Navajo, and the Navajo fighting the Seminole. They had to make sure that they all were fighting one another in order to conquer them. That's why they have to make sure that there's beef flowing in the hip-hop community, because hip-hop is the number one influence over the hearts and mind of our young people and our children. If those brothers ever woke up, they are the key to unlocking the revolution of our minds, our hearts, uniting us economically and politically. So they must keep the hip-hop artists who are truly the natural leaders of our people divided and hating one another. Because if you let them unite, brother, they have the power, the platform to change the shameful and ratchet condition that we're in overnight.
How do we accomplish that when they're being incentivized to be destructive?
You know, it's going to take major hip hop figures to come together and call this enemy out. Because I'm asking every rapper to think about this. You can call a black woman a whore. You can call her the B word. You can rap about giving her all types of drugs and sexual exploitation. You can rap about killing every black brother you don't like. You can rap about putting the ops into his bedroom when he come home to go to sleep and blowing his brains out. You could talk about robbing black churches, and you could talk about shooting the pastors, and you could talk about selling dope in front of the church. But why you can't say anything like that about the Jewish community? But there are major influential figures who play significant roles from the Jewish community in the music industry. So why is it when Michael Jackson made that song, they don't really care about us? They made him bring himself back into the studio and censor the song. You can't talk like that about them. Why is it that when Eminem said something that was inappropriate to the LGBT community, and why is it when 50 Cent did the same thing, they both had to do duets and go on an apologetic tour to the LGBT community? I ask you rappers, why isn't there certain communities you can't talk about and say anything offensive about or negative about, but them same record executives will let you say it all day, every day about your own people and never tell you there's a problem with it? Never tell you to come back into the studio. You can't talk about black people like that. No, they pat you on your back.
If they did, the crazy part about it, though, if they did say that, all of that stuff would be over with overnight.
That's right. And it would completely change the direction of the music. It will completely change the direction of what's being delivered to the young people. But I'm asking you, rappers, why is it they allow you to talk like this about your own people? So filthy and ratchet, but they wouldn't dare let you talk like that about the LGBT community or Israel. Ask yourself that question. And then ask yourself this. What you just said. What if they decided to stop you from doing that about your own people? Then the genre of music would change. The thinking of the people change. You know, brother, Public Enemy got into a lot of trouble.
Salute, my guys.
They got into a lot of trouble because they started talking politics. So you mean to tell me 2 Live Crew didn't get in trouble? We love Brother Luke. But
they got in trouble.
They went after him for censorship, for the imagery. You with me? But why is it you didn't go after our people when we on the cover of albums with a gun to the head of a black man and blood laying all on the ground? That imagery is acceptable. What's going on? We got to wake up and see this reality for what it is. And if we're going to survive what is being planned against us as a people, we cannot do it if we don't learn to love one another.
Quan, I just don't think, let me put it like this. There are a number of us who are on the right page and we are working together and we are trying to make a difference. We're doing what we're doing. We're making a difference. But I do believe as long as we're operating behind enemy lines, and make no mistake, black people in America are behind enemy lines. Not saying that we want it to be that way, but that is the truth. If you look at how everything is designed and the way that we're treated in this country, we're behind enemy lines. The government makes the laws. The government enforces the laws as they choose. So if that's the case, a people can only rise as high as an individual can only rise as high as his people. If you live in a country where the country targets you for failure, I don't give a damn who you are. All of these people that say, well, why the blacks can't do it, why they can't pull themselves. These people came over here and did it. These people came over here and did it. Why they can't do it? Because they're not being targeted by their government for failure.